I was just a bit curious about the weight of the keel. The founder man told me it was 75 kilos and 77 for the other one. Well, that's very close. 74 and a quarter, or maybe do it more precise. Depending on our holding, it's 74 and a half. We write that down. Okay, a good thing. So this is the super strong Divinycell, used for submarines. And I'm just curious to the density of it. And like this one, it's like 6.5 kilos. And this, you see, like I told you before, it's like a hole here. Each piece they take a sample, send it for testing, because if you have a submarine, you don't want a leak in that. So here it is, 6.7 decimeter by 13.5 decimeter by 0.21 decimeter, means 18.99 or 19 cubic decimeter, 6.5 kilos, and you've got the density of 342 kilos cubic meter. Ordinary is 80. If you divide that, you see it's 4 times 27 times as heavy as the other one. Ordinary one that build big boats of, and the strength increases with the density. So this is very strong. And it's a good thing. Well, my keel sure gonna do this. So here is a piece. Problem is, it's not long enough. And this is expensive stuff. I don't like to waste it. But the keel, the shape of the keel is not square or rectangular. So I put it in the back here. And I think from here in the front, I can get out a little piece, 5 by 20 centimeter water. Need to fill up in the back. So now all 20 heads are cut. And now they fit nicely here. Just have to do a point on them to mark better. So, but that's for tomorrow. So, hello friends, this is Yrvind, and today is next day. So, now comes the fun part. Now all the little things are down there. Now we're going to use the hammer. And mark it. So that's how it's going to be done. As you can see, they are not equally deep down. Like this little one is deeper than this one. Now we'll see. And this one. And this one. So I do it in, that means here's the marks. Here's the marks. So I drill the ones are marked. And then I can go deeper and then I drill again. So hello friends. Now we are here. And maybe you can see the slots. The screws are here. It's almost flat. So it's gonna work. Now we're gonna test it with other screws. So this is a start. So hopefully everything is okay for the dry run. The hole is done and countersunk and tapped again, and this one is there, and so everything should be okay. But there is always surprises. But now one thing. There have been many comments today about quarter-inch screw. Suggestion it should be bigger, but the thing is, they attach to the Divinycell. And if I make bigger screw, the Divinycell is not strong enough. So the basic principle of composite is to, in fact, everything, spread out the forces, distribute them as much as you can. Now I've got 20 screws here, so the force of the keel, which is only 75 kilos, is distributed by 20 things, and that's only 4 kilos on each. So plus comes epoxy, and I'm going to clean it with acetone and things like this, and so this is going to be good. And then if you have, say, bigger diameter, maybe half-inch screws, like 12 millimeters, something like that, what you going to do in the other end? They have to be attached to the hull, and then the hull has to be reinforced to distribute that force. So it's just a bad thing to do that. It's much better to do this way. And I did it. The first boat was, so the amphibia breeze had a 150 kilo keel under, screwed into the laminate, but because it's such a big surface, was no problem. So you can see here on the epoxy mechanical properties of the Divinycell H. Here is 80, there's 14 of these things, and that is, what is this? 11.7 kilos square centimeter. Now just a few 5 by 5, that's 25 square centimeter times 11, it's like 300 kilos. So, and that's even Divinycell, just new laminate on it. And another suggestion was to put the keel like this lengthwise, but that's not a good idea because I needed overhang to get over here into the dill press. So that's just not a well-thought suggestion. Another thing was to put the keel down here. But you know, I'm 86 and a half years old, and that would probably hurt my back to lift this and put it in there. I got a chain hoist. So that's easy, even for an old man, to lift it up. And I got a good hole here, just for that purpose, to lift and to put wheel on the boat. So, this is a few things about the comments. So, there's always surprises. This time, to my surprise, it went just as planned. And that's not so often that's happened. So even that is a surprise. Always a surprise. So this is a good fit. Here at the most wide, it's like maybe 4 millimeter. But over here, or was it? It's like 2. So most of these 2 or even that. So just to see how much epoxy it goes. So screws are good, but epoxy is even stronger. It's like 300 kilo each square centimeter. So, but to make it work, no grease has to be there. So now we're going to clean it with acetone. Yes, this is acetone. And here, these ones, they are now swimming in acetone. And you're going to do so for a little while. Degrease them very well. So roughen up the surface a bit. Took away the ridges to get the closer fit. Well, this is a rough surface. If you look at the microscope, like the epoxy, always look through the microscope and see where he can go in and penetrate and do things like this to get a good holding. So, and here, over on this side, I cut the piece to shape. And these little pieces gonna be for ends. I can glue them together to get a good thing. And now the washers, and this been swimming in acetone for a while, so there should be no grease left.